Everybody should have an herb garden. Herb gardens aren't that hard to make. If you have a house, you can set aside 3 or 4 feet in your yard. If you have an apartment, you can create a window box and plant herbs there. Why do you want an herb garden? Well, because number one, herbs are easy to grow. They're weeds, essentially, and all you have to do is plant them and water them occasionally, and they'll grow, and they're great for cooking. And one of the biggest reasons to have an herb garden is the tarragon. Now, tarragon is a spice, or rather it's an herb, it's not a spice, is very difficult to find in the grocery stores. When you do get them in the grocery stores, you can see it dried, but dried it doesn't taste the same. Dried it tastes like hay. Here, fresh tarragon, it tastes a little bit like, well, a little bit like slight anise or licorice flavor, and maybe a touch of what swamp moss tastes like when you're down in the South. It's got a really good flavor. In fact, James Beard once said, if I have to be a cannibal, I could do it if there was enough tarragon around. So, I don't plan on being a cannibal. I don't plan on having tarragon for that reason. There are 3 reasons to have tarragon in my opinion. Number 1, béarnaise sauce. I love béarnaise sauce over steak. Tarragon is the dominant flavor in béarnaise sauce. Number 2, tarragon vinegar. You make homemade tarragon vinegar and it can add amazing taste to just about everything. I use it for dipping my artichokes and I mix it with some mayo, and I'll probably do an artichoke video at some point. Anyway. And then the third is the reason we're going to do it today. It's Tarragon Chicken. Tarragon Chicken has an amazing flavor that you're not going to taste any other way. And today we're making it essentially a keto-friendly version of it. So you can eat it when you don't want to have the exact same thing on your diet that you've had all along. You can make Tarragon Chicken. It's going to be amazing. You can serve it over cauliflower rice or zoodles or just by itself, and it's wonderful. So let's get started. Start out, you can do 4 to 6 chicken breasts. We've already salted and peppered one side. We're going to go ahead and salt and pepper the other side. You want to lightly salt and pepper both sides of the chicken breast. I'm sorry, we're using chicken thighs here and not breast. The reason is the thighs tend to be a little bit moister. They have a little bit better flavor. Okay, take your chicken to a pan. Throw some butter. We're going to do about 2 tablespoons of butter. And then we're going to add a tablespoon of olive oil. Now, why olive oil and butter? Well, because butter is great. It has wonderful flavor. It adds a lot of flavors to what you're cooking, but it has a very low smoke point, which means it burns at a low temperature. You add the oil, that raises the smoke point. Now you can use both butter and oil. You can saute the chicken in both. It gets the flavor of the butter and the higher smoke point of the oil. And so now, first of all, you saute them on about 2 to 3 minutes aside. You want to make them brown. You put these skin side up in the pan. You cook them for 2 to 3 minutes, and then you flip it and cook it for 2 to 3 minutes skin side down. It should be brown on both sides when you're done. It's not going to be cooked all the way through yet. So you might want to try 4 minutes on the bottom side and then 4 minutes on the top. But I'm doing the 3 minutes on the bottom and then 4 minutes on the top. Okay, that's 4.5 minutes. Now I'm going to show you the skin side has turned brown. As you see, when we turn it over, that's slightly brown. Now what you want to do is you want to take all the chicken out of the pan. Now what you have left here, that's all butter and oil and chicken fat that came out of the chicken. It's great to cook the rest of the ingredients because it's going to give the chicken flavor and everything, plus the ingredients are going to be great. Now, For the other ingredients, what we're using, we've got 2 shallots, or shallots, however you want to pronounce it. This is a shallot. It's kind of like an onion, but it's smaller. It's also sweeter than an onion, and it's used a lot in French cooking. By the way, this is a French dish, so this works out well. We've chopped 2 shallots very finely. We've also chopped up 2 cloves of garlic. You want to throw those in the pan. And along with those, we have a cup of mushrooms. Now we have cremini mushrooms, but you can use white mushrooms, you can use portobellos, any kind of mushroom you have, and it goes really well in here. You want to saute everything in the pan for about 3 minutes over medium to medium low. You want to get some flavor, caramelization in the onions, and you want to darken the mushrooms a little bit, soften them up. Same thing with the garlic. You got to be careful with the garlic. Garlic burns quickly as well, so you don't want to overdo the garlic. So 2 to 3 minutes will be fine for this. Okay, to this we're going to add a half a cup of wine and a half a cup of cognac. Okay, you turn the burner off when you add the wine and the cognac, because the cognac has a high alcohol content and it will probably catch flame if you don't do that. Now you turn the burner back on. You cook it for another 2 minutes to reduce it. You want to reduce the wine and the cognac and infuse their flavors into the onions, the shallots and the garlic and the mushrooms. All right, this has been cooking about a minute. Now we're going to add in about a tablespoon of lemon zest. And you want to cook it for 1 more minute with lemon zest to get the flavors all infused. And by cooking it this way, you're also evaporating some of the alcohol out of this. Let me mention, some people are going to say, oh my God, there's cognac and wine in there. Is this really keto? Well, yeah, you can have some alcohol on keto. Cognac has virtually no carbs. Wine has a few carbs, but you want to use a dry white wine. If you use a dry white wine, then you don't have to worry about the carbs in the dish. And we're not using a whole lot of it. As you saw, we just used a half a cup of each. But it adds a lot of flavor to this dish. You could do it without the wine if you don't want it without the wine, but you're going to lose a lot of the flavor if you do it that way. So definitely use the wine. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes. Now we want to add a cup of chicken stock into this. And we're not using anything special, we're just using Kirkland chicken stock from Costco. You can make your own if you want, that's too much work. We always have chicken stock on hand because it's good to add to almost anything. Okay, you add in the chicken stock. You want to take about 8 stalks of that tarragon. You want to throw it in there because that's going to flavor the broth. Now is also the time you put the chicken back. And I'm putting it skin side up because, as you saw, the bottom part wasn't really all that cooked. We need to make sure it cooks in here. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to keep it in here for about 20 minutes on medium heat. This has been braising for about 10 minutes like this. You want to take the tarragon stalks out. They've given up their goodness. And now, this is an optional step. If you want the sauce a little bit thicker, you take about a half teaspoon of potato starch. Don't put it directly into the hot liquid. Stir it into some cold liquid, otherwise it'll lump up. Now, potato starch is a resistant starch. That means it passes through the intestines and dissolves in the colon. It doesn't raise your blood sugar. It doesn't kick you out of ketosis. So it's good for a keto diet. and it will thicken the sauce. You don't have to do it, but if you want a thicker sauce, this is how you do it. And then you stir in about a half cup of cream and 2 teaspoons of course, tarragon. Get that all mixed up and braise it for another 5 minutes like this. You can have this with cauliflower rice. That'll sop up the sauce really well. But it's also great just by itself. As you can see.